Erling Haaland is another issue that, as great as a centre forward that he is, he's changed the way that City play, and he's made them, in some ways, easier to defend against because they only have one way of playing now. So I think, maybe Haaland, is a great striker, but they haven't scored any more goals. They've got exactly the same amount of goals after so many games this season as last season. So the City are more predictable. So a lot of factors, but they're still in the title race to get Arsenal away next week. But I do think that it's beginning to look like things are beginning to slide at City, and what's happened in the last couple of days has made it even worse, because if you're Pep Guardiola, your team's not winning, and you face the prospects of all your amazing achievements over the last few years, spend the life with an asterisk next to them from now on.
It's interesting, isn't it, with this Manchester City side? We've seen them have dips, as most top teams have in the past, but they come out of them very quickly and then hit the ground running. On this occasion, I'd be very, very reluctant to say, yeah, they're going to go on one of those runs, given what we've seen over recent weeks.
Yeah, they're not the team they were. They just seem to be lacking something. Maybe this team has... When a lot of the players signed for Man City under Pep Guardiola, it was to win things. It was to go to Pep and to win things. But all these players have won things now, and maybe the drive they had when they went to City to play for Guardiola, to accept the methods, his demanding methods, maybe they're thinking, well, I've won everything now. I don't need this kind of approach anymore. I need to be a bit more relaxed even. Kevin De Bruyne wasn't even playing at the weekend. So he's making some very strange decisions in terms of tactics, in selection. So it just feels like there's a bit of an end coming, but that would be foolish to write Pep Guardiola and City off. But it does feel like that things aren't quite right, and it's not a happy camp right now. But it wouldn't be, because they're not winning games.
Does that resonate with you? Like, you won 5 league titles, and you've always said, when we've discussed it in the past, it's really hard to go out there and defend a title, to have that same sort of motivation. So does what Mark said kind of resonate in that it's harder to motivate a team that's already won?
No, it is, and I actually agree with Mark about the micromanagement part of it. Certainly when you've won trophies and you get a little bit more experience, then yes, it becomes harder to motivate yourself. I don't think anybody can argue with that. There'll be times where you have to give yourself a little shake. But the micromanagement stuff, I 100% can see it getting on the experienced guys' backs. The other thing,
it's Pep, isn't it? I can't imagine Pep relaxing. It's just who he is, isn't he?
Listen, there's nothing wrong with micromanaging for a period of time, but when you do it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for 7 or 8 years, that's going to get on players. Right. No question. You can keep players on their toes without chirping at them every 2 seconds of the day. I think the other thing, and one of the biggest reasons, is they're not using Haaland properly. Mm-hmm. There's no question they're not looking to play the ball in behind early enough, if at all. And that's a huge weapon. So players are maybe a little unhappy with the manager, the fact that they're not capitalising on what Haaland has, as much as he has fantastic traits.
Yeah.
The one he has that's going to help them, they're not using it.
It's bonkers, isn't it, Ian? 25 goals he's got in the Premier League, yet we're questioning whether or not City are better with or without him.
Well, yeah, heaven help defences when he starts to be used properly by Manchester City. But, it is a fact, I think. I don't think he even had a touch in the opposition box at Tottenham. That's really quite an incredible stat. And he looked as if he was a stranger, isolated from the other players. He was making runs, he wasn't getting the ball. So, he's going to end up getting 60 goals a season when they learn to play with him. But, I agree with Mark, and I think it's a generally held view now that things aren't quite right at Manchester City at the moment. The Cancelo sudden departure to Bayern Munich was a little telltale sign. Not picking Kevin De Bruyne for a huge game like Tottenham away, where they had the chance to cut Arsenal's lead. And then that strange quote from Pep Guardiola moaning about it takes 4 hours and 20 minutes to get to London and I'm tired. When did they ever moan about that before? So just at the moment, things are not quite right with Manchester City, but I wouldn't be in quite such a hurry to write them off. They are just as likely to bounce back, probably sometime soon.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube, and for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app, and for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.